What up, IDS Mob? So today, we're going to be talking about the 5 ways that chasing money and your goals will help you with women. Now, I don't say this in terms of if you have a lot of money, women are going to like you. For one, that's very obvious. We already know that. But I'm talking about what skill sets will you get and learn as a result of chasing after money and after your dreams that can actually help you when you're trying to attract women. And a lot of this is honestly based on this guy named Doc Love who passed away a couple of years ago, but he was a relationship guru that did a great job at doing a parallel of how dating works to how sales works. And as a person that is very logic-based, I didn't always understand the emotional sides of how to attract women, but when he put it into sales terms, I suddenly got it because I was doing a lot of sales jobs back then, and being able to correlate and parallel how things work in the sales world with how things work in the dating world made it a lot easier for me to navigate in the dating world as a result. And part of that's because of some of the skills that you will develop and learn as you are doing things that involve you chasing after money and chasing after your goals, to the point where those parallels will help you greatly. And so hopefully this will be helpful to you the same way that his advice was very much helpful to me. Because the reality is this, is that, I think men these days get a little too emotional about the whole dating thing, and it throws you off your game when you're being overly emotional. The emotional aspects of dating should be left for women to do because they are able to regulate their emotions a lot better than men are. But you as a guy always need to be going into dating women with a plan of action and a method to how you're going to do things. And I think that as you're growing and as you're starting to get into the world and trying to, be successful, if you really pay attention to the steps that it takes to be successful and what it takes, the kind of person you have to be in order to be able to work with other people and get money, you'll see that those same skills can be directly applied to your dating life. So enough about the preamble, let's go ahead and get into this, all right? So here's the first way that chasing money will help you with women, okay? First one is dealing with rejection. When you're out in the world chasing after your goals and chasing after the kind of money that you want to get, inevitably you're going to run into obstacles. You're going to hear a lot of no's. There are going to be doors that close on you. And it's amazing that guys will see that and say, but I'm going to still go after what I want. I'm going to learn new skill sets. I'm going to be able to take this rejection and either prove people wrong or use it to my advantage to learn what I need to learn to get to that next step. And it's a thing that hopefully you've learned not to take personally, because rejection is just bound to happen. There's going to be times where you want to work with somebody, or you figure out a way that you want to get money, and then there's a rejection that comes saying that this method's not going to work, or you ask people to invest in you and they say no. And at that point, you could just give up. But most of you, if you have a really strong goal that you're trying to reach, you just take that no and turn it into something positive, or you say, okay, that person said no, this avenue said no. What are other ways to go about doing this thing? And that same feeling is one you need to have in the dating world, because so many guys go out there, they ask out 1 or 2 women, and the women reject them or say no or flake on them. And then all of a sudden guys see, all women are trash and I'm just not attractive enough and nobody's gonna ever date me. And then they just stay single for sometimes the rest of their lives. And it doesn't have to be like that. There are billions of women out there. One of them has to want to get with you. But that rejection could be used as a lesson to teach you something about yourself. It could be something to teach you about the fact that not every woman's gonna like you. You never know what that woman's station is in life or why she's rejecting you. So for example, you could think it's because you're ugly, but it could be because she had a bad childhood and doesn't trust men. Or she could be, in her head not being sure if she wants to date guys or she's into women. You never know. But the point is, by going after your goals, it'll become habit, and you'll get a better understanding that rejection is ultimately just part of the process that leads you eventually to success. And the same is true with dating. You're gonna get, when you first start out, most of you aren't gonna probably come out the woodwork and just know how to date. So there's gonna be a learning curve. There's going to be rejection. And you know what? You actually need to go through with that, so you can develop a tough skin, and also so as you get more and more into it, it won't hurt your feelings as much, to where you're gonna actually recognize, okay, I'm gonna go to this party tonight, for example, and I'm gonna try to hit on 10 women. I fully expect 7 of those women to not wanna talk to me, but there's gonna be 3 there that most likely will. And you'll start focusing more on rejection as part of the process to eventually get success, which will ultimately lead you to dating the women that you want to date. So that's the first thing. The second way that chasing money and your goals will help you with women is that you will learn the art of patience. There are too many of you guys out there right now that are very impatient. You finally find a girl that seems to show interest in you and you want to hammer her with text and calls and trying to see her every single day. And then you wonder why in the span of like a week or two, it flames out, she starts ghosting you or backing off. And it's because you're not being patient. Now, when you're chasing after your dreams and goals, ideally you understand that some things take time. Like if you start investing in yourself now, you know, okay, if I start doing this kind of training or if I start following this mentor, I'm not gonna get success right away, but in the span of like a year or two, I'm gonna be set to where I wanna go. I'm gonna have enough clientele coming in to where I'll be able to, realistically make a whole lot of money and have a good reputation built up. And so just in the same way that you have to be patient sometimes in order to wait yourself out for the big money or to be able to get that dream you want to get. You want to be a doctor. You got to go to doctor school for like 4 or 5 years and go to residency. But in a span of 7 years, you're going to get where you want to go. Well, the good thing about dating is it shouldn't take you that long to be able to get good at dating. But it does take time and patience. So let's say you start listening to my stuff now, right? Or you start getting some of my programs. Well, some guys would be upset, like, I got your program or I did this thing, but it's been a month and I haven't gotten results. I was dating for a long time, all right? And let me tell you, it's not gonna be an overnight thing, but you can start doing steps now that are gonna lead you to have better habits and to be a better person overall for a woman, to whereby if you start studying this stuff now in a span of like 2 years, which might seem like a long amount of time, but 2 years to get good at something that you can be good at for the rest of your life is worth it. And that includes dating. You might start practicing stuff here and there now. You might pick up a technique here or learn how to say this thing over here, or what kind of dates to take a woman on. And then 2 years later, you just suddenly know all this stuff. And now you're able to date all the women that you want, the hot 10s that you think are the most attractive or whatever, okay? So just like when you're chasing after money and your goals, with women, it's gonna take patience, not only in terms of learning how to get them, but also once you figure this stuff out, recognizing that the pacing of dating for women also involves patience. So you trying to rush into a relationship after that first week is nowhere near as effective as you waiting 3 months for her to solidify her feelings for you to then get into a relationship. I found in my life that it's been a lot easier to date, in part because I apply patience, I don't rush in, and that allows you ultimately to be able to have a longer lasting relationship with the women that you want. All right, so that's the second one. The third way that chasing money and your goals will help you with women is negotiation. Because here's the reality. When you're chasing your goals and dreams, you're usually going to be working, or you're going to have to try to get with other people. Because even if you're an introvert, recognize having at least 1 or 2 people that you work with on your team is going to get you a lot farther ahead faster than doing it by yourself. But here's the thing, is that there's going to be times when conflicts arise or people on your team are going to have differing opinions than you. And so you can't just cut people off when they don't agree with you. So that goes into the skill of negotiation. You have to learn, especially when you're dealing with like trying to get, large amounts of money, that takes negotiation. It means being able to see the other person's perspective about what this deal means if they go through with it. It means being able to, sometimes cater to what the other person needs, or sometimes it means they need to give and take on your end. Like ultimately, learning how to negotiate is very beneficial in the world of business, in the world of you trying to get certain goals achieved, because, realistically, as a guy, you go up to somebody and say, hey, I got a goal and I got an idea to do this thing. Most people aren't gonna really care about what's in it for you. They're gonna care about what's in it for them. And so knowing that and knowing how the verbal skills you need to have to make a person feel like they're gonna be getting something positive out of this while at the same time helping you and being able to come to agreements is a very beneficial skill to have. And that's not just in the business world, but that's also in the dating world, because men and women operate on a totally different plane. We think about things differently. We observe the world differently. And so when you're trying to go out there and date, there's gonna be times when conflicts are going to arise. And a lot of men, their way of dealing with conflicts with women is to just agree with them. Okay, whatever you say, okay, no problem, thinking that that's gonna solve the problem. I have found more often than not, it actually makes the woman less attracted to you, because it seems like you don't have a spine or backbone. It makes it feel to her as though you don't have any particular principles to stand on. And as much as you think a woman always wants to get her way, I've had times in relationships where I'll have a thought or opinion about something, or I'll say, hey, I don't think this is a good idea because X, Y, and Z. And the woman will initially get mad at me about that, but then come back to me a few days later and say, hey, you know what, Harry, you were actually right. Like, I was tripping. This thing that you said, I understand where it's coming from now, and we can come back to the negotiating table and talk about what we can do now. So recognize that that's going to be an important skill set, because you can't try to overtalk a woman all the time, and you can't try to, press your will on hers and assume everything you're doing is right. So that means being able to come to terms with the fact that negotiating with your woman is going to be a very beneficial part of the relationship. And that starts with learning how to do that when you're chasing after money and chasing after your goals and dreams. The fourth way chasing money will help you with women is dealing with good times and bad. In the flow of trying to achieve your goal and your dream, or trying to chase a large sum of money, there's going to be ebbs and flows of that. There's going to be times when, you have money coming in and everything's going on an uphill and it's great. And then there's going to be times when, for whatever reason, the money's not coming in as fast, or, you make a bad business deal of some kind and the money goes down. And regardless of whether you're up with your money or low with your money, you have to know how to deal with both situations in a way that is positive. Like, you can't just be like, when you have no money coming in, oh, what was me? I'm going broke, sell everything. Oh, my life is like, you can't do that. So you have to learn to prepare for when the bad times are going to come, because inevitably, again, with the ebbs and flows of money, or you trying to chase after your goals, there's going to be setbacks. There's going to be times when things aren't quite going your way. Can you actually deal with that in a healthy way? And the same is true with relationships. There's going to be a lot of, ideally for you, a lot of ups in the terms of how positive things are going in the relationship, but there's going to be times when hard times come. One of your parents is going to get sick. She's going to lose her job. You're going to, have some catastrophe happen. You might get in a car accident or something. And the point is, when these times happen, do you have the fortitude to be able to actually deal with them? And if you don't, then that's a problem for relationships, because ultimately, as a guy, the woman's looking for you to be the rock. This does not mean, by the way, that you can't ever have a weak moment, or that, if you're not feeling as strong, you can't go talk to somebody about that. But what it is saying is that you need to learn how to be a guy that can navigate a variety of situations, because of the two of you, you got to be the strong one. Just real talk. Like, you got to be the strong one that's able to handle these kind of things. And so you get practice in doing that by chasing after money and goals, because it's going to happen a lot when, especially earlier, like in your 20s, when you just get out of college, fresh face, and you don't know nothing. You're going to get a lot of rejections, and you're going to get a lot of good times and bad times. It can go from like you're in a dormitory where you're living by yourself to you graduate college, and now all of a sudden you're back home with your mom. Or you go from being the student class president in college to you're the low man on the totem pole trying to find a job that won't hire you because you have no experience. You have the opportunity at these times to figure out how to navigate these situations and how to not let it affect you so emotionally, how to keep your eye on the prize, and how to ultimately recognize that these bad times are going to come and you learn how to deal with them. And again, the habit and practice of that will also be great then for when you meet a woman that you also go through good and bad times with. And then the fifth way that chasing money and your goals will help you with women is ultimately you'll become indifferent to outcomes. And this is a very important skill to have in the business world and in the dating world, because what people don't want to see is somebody that's overly emotional or getting frantic about anytime something goes bad or haywire, right? So when you're chasing after your goals, for example, like I said, there's going to be times where you want to do something or you think you're close to achieving a goal and then you have a setback, right? And the first time this happens a few times, you might get frustrated. You might even cry about it. Real talk, guys. I've had times where things just got so intense in my life of trying to grow that I just broke down. I remember when I was in Atlanta, I had next to no money and I was trying to go for a job, and I get on the bus and I ride all the way to where I'm supposed to have the job interview, and I lose my wallet. Like, it had my social security card in it, which I needed for the interview, and I had my debit cards and stuff in there to get out the little money that I had in my account. And I remember I rode back home in the bus, and I walked back to my apartment at the time, and I got on my bed and I just started crying because I was just like, this is just too hard. I can't figure out life. But, those kind of setbacks happened a few times, and after a few times, they just kind of got to like, okay, Because what happened is in that situation, I eventually figured it out. I was able to go to the Social Security office, get my Social Security card back. I reapplied for my debit cards and all was well. And so after a few times of having setbacks and being able to get out of them, I started to realize, oh, setbacks are just a part of the process. And so nowadays, when things happen, whether I lose a job or I lose out on some kind of money, my thought's just like, okay, let's figure it out. And so I'm very indifferent to whether good things are happening or bad things. If something good happens in my life, great, fantastic. What's the next thing? If something bad happens, oh, that sucks. What's the next thing? And that allows me to have an even level head about things, all right? But more importantly, it allows me to regulate my emotions. It shows that, I'm a guy that's in control and is stable in terms of how he operates and how he handles situations. Well, guess what? In the dating world, it's even worse because most of the women that you hit on probably aren't going to want you. And you know what? You can't let that hurt your feelings. A lot of times in the dating world, you're going to be trying to hook up with the woman and she's going to initially say, no, she don't want to do that. And guess what? You cannot force your will upon her to try to hook up with her. You have to be like in the moment, okay, well, we're not going to do it today. All right, cool, whatever. And I have found that attitude get you a lot farther with women because when they see that you're, not that you're like a rock or stone, but that you're not going to ultimately be completely swayed emotionally based on how she feels about things or what she's willing to do or not do, or because she rejected you initially. And I've had women, for example, that I try to ask out and they at the time say they're not interested. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And then they come back to me later. And part of it's because I didn't freak out when they said no. I've had breakups where the woman came to me and said, hey, so I don't think this is working out. We should break up. And my response is like, well, okay, best of luck to you. And then like a week later, oh, well, when I was doing that, I thought that, you're going to do a thing, but blah, blah, and now I want you back. Because I was like, ultimately, things in life are going to work the way they do. Sometimes I'm going to get what I want, and that's fantastic. And sometimes I'm not going to get what I want. It sucks for a little bit, but you get over it. And my uncle, when I was doing sales back in the day, sales again, used to have this saying. He said, the yeses will make you happy. The nos will upset you for a little while, but you'll get over it. But the maybes will drive you crazy, okay? And so a lot of times you'll hear women say to you, well, maybe we'll go out. Maybe we'll go on a date. And you get frustrated by that, okay? I just learned to take maybes as nos. But again, whether I'm getting a no or maybe, I always stay in this thing of like, okay. And again, I found that women typically respond better to that, knowing that, because again, women already have because of the estrogen, they have a higher emotional roller coaster ride going throughout their bodies and brains at any given time, right? Both of you guys can't have that. She can't be overly hyperly emotional all the time and then have you be the same way because that's going to wreck the ship. So she's of the two of you guys, again, sorry to say guys, stereotypically it's true, she's going to typically have more emotional things to regulate. You need to be the one that is more stable of the two of you, and that starts with learning to not let things bug you so much. And so this is why, again, if you're focusing initially on just chasing money and chasing your goals, as you get more and more pushback against those things and you go through more situations involving trying to get money and trying to get goals, you'll start to realize, oh, this is just part of how everything works, and you'll be less affected when things aren't going your way, which will then ideally translate into your dating life, all right? So really pay attention when you're chasing after money, what processes are you going through? What things are you feeling? What things are you learning that are helping you in the world of getting your goals, in the world of getting money? And then use those same skills. If you're observant, you'll recognize that you do those same things over here. Perfect example. I talk to you guys a lot on this show about the phone call thing, about how you take a girl out on a date and then you wait 4 days to call her. And a lot of guys and a lot of women especially be like, that's not a thing. That's playing games. You should call her whenever you want to, blah, 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 blah. Okay, take it to the business world. Let's say I call a guy up that I'm looking to negotiate a deal with some kind, right? Or he's gonna give me a bunch of money. So I call up and say, hey, so I have this thing I wanna run by you. I think it'd be a great thing. I think we can make a lot of money at it. If that guy were to say, okay, great, you know what? Call me in a few days to talk about it. So I have time to think about it, right? Okay, cool. And then you're thinking, but I want to, talk to him about the idea right now, and I want to get the money now because I need my rent's due in 3 days, and he wants to talk in 4 days. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. So you're trying to now call him, hey, so can we maybe talk later today instead? Or hey, can we have a text chat conversation about this thing so we can get the money, this and that? What do you think is going to happen? That guy's probably going to be like, this guy is not respecting me. I told him I needed to think about it for a few days. He's not giving me those few days to talk about it. And now I feel disrespected and the deal's off, right? So it's probably better in that situation to listen to the person on the other side saying, hey, I need my time. In the dating world, it's the same way. A woman needs time to sit with her thoughts, think about you and whatever, which is why I advocate for waiting a minimum of 4 days before you call the woman, because ultimately it's respectful to her process, all right? But again, if you were chasing after your money first and in the business world, you would recognize simple things like, hey, if a guy's saying he needs some time to think about our deal, give him that time. Hey, if I can then go on a date and have a good time with her, she needs time to think about if she wants to deal with me or not, give her that time. And so these are the kinds of lessons that you'll learn when you're chasing initially after your money and success. And also, I did a previous show talking about how when you have a business and when you have your money together, the women will just come to you automatically. Like, it's amazing how women can sniff that stuff out and want to be with you. But once that woman comes towards you, you need to have the dating skills necessary to keep her around. And so if you really focus initially on chasing after money and chasing after women, those skills will become a natural part of who you are, to where you can then translate them into your dating world and have the same type of success there that you're ideally having with chasing money and chasing goals. So hopefully, guys, this helps you all out. Now, for more of these shows, go to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/HarryWilmington and become a subscriber. Also, guys, I will be launching the Introvert Dating Success Academy starting on November 1st. I want you to go to the website right now and sign up for the waiting list. When you do, you'll get my free PDF on the 10 steps that it takes to be able to go from dating a woman to being in a relationship. But this academy that's coming open on the 1st of November, this is gonna have all the programs you ever wanted to have when you're trying to learn about dating. This is gonna basically be the Netflix of dating advice, where you'll be able to click on a variety of different audios, PDFs, and more importantly, training videos that are gonna teach you once and for all the various aspects of the dating game so you can perfect them, okay? It's gonna be a membership site with a low monthly fee, but it's going to allow you access to all these materials. There's gonna be more details coming out about the Introvert Dating Success Academy in the coming weeks, but in the meantime, sign up for the waitlist and get that free PDF so you can at least get an idea of the blueprint that it's gonna take you to go from dating a woman to being able to be in a relationship with her in the span of 90 days or less, okay? That's at introvertdatingsuccess.com. Thanks, guys, for tuning into this episode, and I will catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh,